What's up, everybody?
What's the matter with you?
This is the Bottom Line Podcast.
What's the
I'm
matter?
Joey Fedizzi alongside Neil Villapiano. We hope you're doing well, because
I'm doing well.
I'm not.
Why not?
Neil, how are you doing, first of all?
Well, obviously, you can tell by my background, but yeah, I'm not. I'm good. I'm good. I'm a little tired. Sleepy wise. I'd love to go back and take a nap, but you woke my ass up. Anyway, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. All fun. But no, I'm good. I'm good. I'm excited for, we're recording this basically, a couple hours prior to the first game of the actual Stanley Cup playoffs. We're now finally into the round of 16. I think the first game is Columbus and Tampa, correct?
I think you're right, yes.
Oh boy, it's a battle. It's time for revenge.
It's a rematch. Yeah, we'll see if Tampa can redeem themselves from last year.
Exactly. Other than that, I'm doing well. Obviously, yesterday with the whole Phase 2 draft lottery, which there never should have been a Phase 2, but, it's 2020, and this is just how it works. It happened. Obviously, I'm not wild about the team that got the first overall pick, but I think after, and I'm a Devils fan first and foremost for everybody that doesn't know. I've actually warmed up to it a lot, and I have excitement. And I think we talked about this a couple weeks ago about the possibility of the Rangers getting the first overall pick and everything. But I'm good, and I'm ready to talk about this. I'll obviously be in more detail. And just a newsflash for everybody out there listening or watching, whatever. First of all, thank you guys, and hope everybody's doing well. I called Jimmy last night after the results happened, and I was obviously mad at first because it was predictable. It wasn't like I was shocked. I was like, yep, that was coming. Because I even responded to the bottom line Twitter account.
Because you said Gary Bettman would get his way again.
Well, yeah. I mean, that was what we were going for. And yeah, so when the Rangers got it, it was like, okay, what a surprise. It would have been more surprising if it had been something like Winnipeg, Nashville, Minnesota. Would have been more of a surprise just because I wouldn't have thought that they would actually go down that route. I also, it's easy for everybody to say that it was rigged, including myself, obviously being a Devils fan and saying, oh, it's big market. When I watched that, that's the whole reason that they did the lottery in right there in person, and they didn't have a behind the scenes thing like they normally do, is that they were trying to make it so that it didn't look rigged. Mm-hmm. And I mean, at that point, when you see the balls flying and everything, that was just the luck of the luck of the ball rolling around. So I could see the logo before the guy even took it out of the slot. I was like, yeah, it's the Rangers. And I thought it was funny because the dude who had the suit on and was holding the suitcase with the balls, he looked like a secret agent to me. Like, really creepy. It was like FBI-like. I was like,
and the fact that he dropped the Rangers logo in there before Gary Bettman could confirm it was the logo, which is another stupid thing that he did. But
worn gloves. He wouldn't drop. You should have worn gloves. You shouldn't. I was gonna say, like, we're still dealing with COVID-19. How come he's not wearing gloves?
Oh my!
That was my complaint. But the Rangers got it, and to be honest with you, I'm excited from the standpoint of the rivalry between the Rangers and the Devils, because the Devils have gotten 2 of the last 3 first overall picks, So we have our future intact. And then the Rangers jumped 10 spots last year to number 2 and got Kaapo Kakko, which I think with time he's going to become a very, very good player in the NHL.
Absolutely.
And now the Rangers jumped from, I guess, again, they jumped 10 spots. That's my guess. Since they said the 11th overall team was the winner of the draft lottery back when they did the first phase, technically the Rangers once again jumped 10 spots.
Right.
I think the Rangers also own another first round pick. I think in the later round of the first round. I know the Rangers have 2 first round picks. I just don't know where the other one is off the top of my head. But there was a Rangers fan, and I think he's like relatively well known. Like, he's a Rangers stat guy. He's a big fan. And he kind of threw out like the list of players that the Rangers have now, including Lafreniere, which, I mean, it's all but, it's all without announced yet that he's probably going to go number one, is, like you have Lafreniere, you have Artemi Panarin, who very well could win the Hart Trophy as league MVP. You have Mika Zibanejad, who I think actually is the best player on the Rangers, in my opinion. You have Igor Shesterkin, who is without a doubt your goalie of the future. You have Alexander Georgiev, who also could be another one of your goalie of the future guys. I mean, you have Tony DeAngelo. You still have, I'm losing it here.
Adam Fox.
You still have Adam Fox. You have Capo Caco. I mean, you have the rebuilding that the Rangers have done over the last couple of years has been tremendous, has been absolutely tremendous. And you need, top picks like the Rangers got in the last 2 years. And, I look at it this way also. When the Rangers season ended, when we were all put on pause, the Rangers were not technically in a playoff spot. I think they were the 9th seed.
Yes.
When this stopped. So technically a non-playoff team won the lottery. Technically. So I guess in a way you can't fully get mad about it, like fully say it's rigged. Again, I think Minnesota or Winnipeg needed that first overall pick a lot more than the Rangers did. And the thing about the Rangers is that Lafreniere doesn't have to be on the first line. Like, he could be the second line centerman, which is great. I mean, the Rangers are adding him as.
See now, this is where we're gonna have an issue. But let me.
I was gonna say, let me finish.
Go ahead.
But Lafreniere, in a way, is actually a depth piece that the Rangers are adding to their team because he's a second line. Because he'll be a second line centerman, unless you want to pair him with Panarin and Zibanejad, which maybe not right away you want to do that. I think early on, second line is good. I think that's a good, starting point for him. Like Jack Hughes, it's the same thing. Like, you just put him on the second line. You already have, I don't know who the number one centerman is on the Rangers now, off the top of my head. You probably know, but I don't really know the Rangers as much as you do because you're a Rangers fan, I'm not. But who is their first line centerman usually?
I believe their first line centerman is Zibanejad.
It is. Oh, he is a centerman. Okay, I messed
Yeah,
up.
he is a center. Yeah.
Can he also play wing? I think he also plays wing.
I haven't seen him play wing. No.
But anyway, but you have Zibanejad as your first line centerman, and then you could put Lafreniere as your second line centerman. I mean, that's awesome, and you have a lot of depth. You have a lot of young talent, and the Rangers making the playoffs. In parentheses, if you want to call it that, the experience that they got by getting, swept and pretty much looking like they had no business being there was a good learning lesson for a young team that's trying to learn how to become a championship caliber team. So I think now the Rangers are going to have to be prepared to have to take that next step, which is to get into the playoffs and make some noise. Like, you really have to take that. Like, that's the next step here. And there was something else that the Rangers and the Devils, kind of together that I wanted to bring up, and I'll bring up after you're done with your ranting and raving. Because, usually you go first and I go second, but I thought I'd get my my point out before you. I was actually talking to one of my friends, and I said, I'm actually like somewhat interested in a hockey fan way of getting a Rangers jersey of Lafreniere, but then I thought about it and I said, you know what? He's a rookie, and I'm usually not good with picking players that are not like the legends and not the guys that stay around long term. Usually when I pick players' jerseys, within a year or two, they get traded or moved. So an example, like my first Devils jersey ever was a Scott Gomez jersey way back in the day. And like
nice.
Maybe like 2 days later after I got it for Christmas, he left and went to the Rangers. And so, like, I don't have that success all the time. So I wouldn't do it. I'm excited for Lafreniere because he gets to go to a team that's already in a competitive state. He's not labeled as the savior of the franchise. He is a depth piece. He is a very talented player. I think 2 years in a row he was named CHL Player of the Year. I think it was CHL Player of the Year. He is a dominant player. I was impressed with him in the World Juniors this past year where he got hurt, and it looked like he had hurt himself pretty severely. It looked like he had torn his ACL, the way he had to be carried off the ice. And I think he came back like a couple days later and had 2 goals and 3 assists in his first game back. And I was like, this kid's special. This kid has the makings to be a once-in-a-generation talent. Now, we can only say that with first overall picks. People said that about Jack Hughes to an extent last year. And, I'll argue and say you can't just say Jack Hughes is a bust based off of his rookie year when he lost his head coach, he lost his star player, the team just faltered through all expectations, and they didn't even finish the season because of a coronavirus pandemic.
Yeah, it wasn't Hughes' fault the team sucked.
And Capo Caco, what he did that I thought was impressive was that I think he put on some weight during that stop.
He did.
Because he got a lot bigger, and he seemed to be one of the more consistent players for the Rangers in the 3 games that they were in the qualifying round.
And so was Philip Hedl. Those two were the only ones that were actually competitive.
Right.
Outside of their goaltending, but that's another discussion.
Exactly. Do I think the Rangers will, go after another big name piece this offseason? Probably not. I think their big piece is obviously going to be Lafreniere. Does that mean someone like Jesper Fast is out the door? I don't think the Rangers are going to keep him. As much as I think he's a good player for the Rangers, he seemed to have fit in well. I don't see him staying around. Henrik Lundqvist, I really have a tough time believing he'll be back in the red, white, and blue next season. I just don't see how he could stay on. I mean, there's no point. At this point, you're hurting the development of Georgiev and Shesterkin to an extent.
I would rather see them pull a Ray Bourque and have him win a cup somewhere else to end his career. It
all depends on if Lundqvist is okay with it, because Lundqvist has a no trade clause. He has to make that choice. And so that and that's why I was going to bring up the next piece of discussion, but I'm going to wait till you have your say with all of this, and then I'll kind of jump back in with what your thoughts on the next bit of information that I got. But bottom line is this: I'm annoyed, not surprised. As a hockey fan, and also a fan of just the rivalry between the Devils and the Rangers, the Battle of the Hudson River, I'm excited because both teams have 2 very talented players, 2 very young talented players that the team builds their, franchise around. And I think that in a weird way, it was rigged. The NHL draft has been rigged the last couple of years to help these 2 teams build that rivalry again.
No, it has.
Kind of makes sense to me when you look at it. So I'm happy in a way for Rangers fans that I can actually stand. As far as the really ignorant, over the top Rangers fans, I don't think you deserved it. But good job for Jeff Gordon, because 2 years ago, people wanted him out as the Rangers general manager. Now, all of a sudden, he's like the second coming of whoever you want to say there. But it's just funny, and good for Jeff Gordon, good for the Rangers. And I wonder, with James Dolan being the owner, I wonder if he's going to get the same luck in a couple weeks, or like a week from now when the NBA draft lottery comes around. And I said, you know what? I said to my friend who's a Knicks fan, I said, dude, don't be surprised if this happens. This actually happens. Because think about it. Do you imagine how much money the NHL and the NBA could make by having both their New York franchises be like the center of like the first overall pick? Also, Gary Bettman originally worked in the NBA under the late David Stern.
Right.
So, yeah. And also, the NBA draft lottery is a little bit more rigged, in my opinion, than the NHL draft lottery. Because,
that's true.
I mean, it seemed like the Knicks were going to get it last year, and it didn't happen. But if James Dolan gets both the first overall pick in the NHL draft and the first overall pick in the NBA draft, he might be one of the luckiest owners I've ever seen in the history of sports in a 1-year span. And I'm like, it's 2020. Anything can happen. We've already seen that anything can happen. But bottom line is, annoyed, disappointed in a way, feel bad for some of the smaller franchises that, once again, got screwed because of a stupid thing. And just like John Tavares against the Blue Jackets, the Toronto lottery ball hit the post and didn't go in. And as a result, the Rangers got the first overall pick. So that's my 20-minute spiel, I guess you want to say, of this. But Jimmy, I'm not the host, but I feel like today I am, because I feel like I have to come for you. The floor is yours, my friend. Do I have to
All
turn
right.
down my volume, by the way, before you start? Just
No. I already vented out my frustrations. This isn't gonna be this isn't gonna be a rant. I know
no, you didn't.
I know I sort of teased
You
that,
said last night.
but
You're like, you said last night, I'm conserving my energy for tomorrow.
uh,
That's what you said.
I get- I'm not. I'm still angry, but
Why?
not as mad as I was
Well, no.
last
You have
night.
to
Well,
explain to
the other night, I should say.
You have to explain to everybody. You are a Rangers fan. For those of you
Yes.
that don't know, Jimmy has always been a Rangers fan. He's a diehard Rangers fan. He is more understanding of the team and the expectations and the reality of situations than most. Please explain to everyone why you're upset about the Rangers getting the number 1 overall pick.
Well, it's not even upset anymore. It's just the fact that it's questionable to me. And the reason why it's questionable is because
What
of
is
this.
Wait, what is questionable?
The fact that they even had the fact that they even had a chance to sniff the number 1 overall pick. Every single team that was involved in that draft lottery the other night had a 12.5% chance
Yep.
of getting the number 1 overall pick, which I think is absolutely stupid. And also, the fact that Gary Bettman had to confirm that this was the team logo on the lottery ball is also a stupid thing. I don't even know why you even had to go there in the first place.
Because they had a half-hour time slot, and so they probably just had to fill it in. And also, again, I think Gary Bettman obviously knew that if they did the lottery itself behind the scenes, like they usually do, the way it goes with this lottery is that they do it behind closed doors, and they have a certain, set of numbers that each team has, and whatever number set comes up is the one that won the lottery. So, for instance, the Devils, 2 of the last 3 years, their set of numbers came up. And the only person that knows by that point that they won the lottery is the owner of the team. So Hugh Weber, who was technically the one in charge for a while of the Devils, he knew before former GM of the Devils, Ray Shero, even knew that they had won the lottery. But they weren't allowed to text, the general managers. They weren't allowed to notify anybody. They had to stay quiet in the back, in the green room or whatever you want to call it.
Right.
And the GMs, without knowing, had to sit there and actually, like us fans, just sit there and be like, what the hell? Like, what's going to happen? This time around, with it obviously being a, crazy year. And look, this lottery system is like a one-time thing. This is not going to happen in 2021.
Yeah, thank God.
It's not going to happen again.
But I will say this. I would much prefer what they did the other night with the lottery balls rather than having them read the cards, because that seems more sufficient in my eyes. But that's another discussion for another day.
And I think that's what comes back to the fact that, Gary Bettman had to confirm the balls just because, again, it was this constant thing that the NHL was trying to show America, Canada, the hockey world, basically, that, oh, it's not rigged, yada, yada, yada. And yes, watching that, those balls moving around, it wasn't rigged. It was impossible. It was literally impossible. It was just that the stroke of luck. There's a great ESPN 30 for 30 called, I think it's called Magic Moment or This Magic Moment, I think. And it's about the Orlando Magic, where they started and their whole era with Penny Hardaway and Shaquille O'Neal. The NBA was doing the same thing that the NHL does with the lottery balls. And literally it was like this oval circular thing. You turn it like this and you get what you get. And then you have the cards, and then you open them up and everything. And that's how it goes. The Magic 2 years in a row got the number 1 overall pick. They got Shaq. Then they got to the playoffs and I think they got knocked out the day, they lost on the last day of the season and didn't make the playoffs. And somehow, with one lottery ball, because they had the lowest chance of getting the number 1 overall pick,
right,
somehow fought its way and got to number 1. Sometimes that's just how it goes. The only time I feel like in the history of sports that I can say it was rigged was probably when the Knicks got Patrick Ewing. That seemed like the most, because that was the folded, card conspiracy. Remember back in the day. That was it. The Knicks needed a superstar, and especially in the New York media. Did the Rangers need a superstar? No. So to me personally, looking back now, a day later, I don't feel that it was rigged. It was just, hey, the Rangers ball just happened to fight its way. I said, look,
now,
John Tavares' ball hit the post, didn't go in, typical, and it didn't happen. We would be sitting here if it was Toronto or Edmonton or Pittsburgh, and both of us would have been mad, obviously. I don't think most fans were going to be happy one way or another. But I think I would say this, speaking to you, Jimmy, as a Rangers fan, you'll eventually be happy about this. You'll eventually warm up to it. Probably by the time we get to October, you'll be like, all right, you know what? Fine. Now we have him. Let's go and win. It's all about what can they do once they step on the ice. It's a very good question.
Maybe to you it is, but here's the thing. Did the Rangers need this?
No.
Hell no.
Not really.
No. And why didn't they need it? Because they're already stacked with young talent. They're already stacked. They have Zibanejad. They
but
have
if you ask the
Panarin.
Yankees, you can never have too much talent.
What's that?
If you ask the Yankees, you can never have too much talent.
That's a load of
Which,
bull.
by the way, thank God they called up Clint Frazier yesterday.
Thank
God they called up Clint Frazier yesterday.
Thank God. Now let's hope he stays up here. But
we'll see if he plays today. The Yankees do play the Braves today.
Yes.
Who gave up 13, 15 runs last night in their loss to the Phillies, which I was like, if the Yankees don't score 5 runs at least against this team, it's a joke.
That's an absolute disgrace. But listen, going back to the Rangers, they didn't need this. They didn't. They already have Zibanejad, Panarin, Buchnevich, Fox. I mean, I could go across the board to tell you how much young talent they have. Filipino's another one who actually was very competitive in the Stanley Cup qualifiers. Same with Capo Caco, who, like Neil said, and I agree with him, going as his years progress, he will be an extremely talented player. And he already is, but he's going to get better as the years progress. So give Capo Caco some time. And of course I'm going to give Lafreniere some time. Do I think he's going to excel on the NHL level? Absolutely yes. And I want him to. But to the Rangers, who don't really need that much more talent, I mean, it's nice, but you mentioned the lines earlier. Where are you putting him? If you're putting him on the second line, who are you taking out? If you put him on the first line, are you taking out Zibanejad? Are you taking out Panarin? Are you taking out Buchnevich? Who are you taking off that line? I mean, this is the issue that I have. Where are you going to fit this kid? Especially in his first year. Now, granted, he's probably not going to get... What's that?
The second line.
Who are you taking off? Who are you taking off?
Well, first of all, I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't know the Rangers as much as you do, so I can't like, I can't. I mean, I can look it up top of my head.
This is my issue. I don't care what line you try to fit him on. Who are you taking off? That's the issue. Where is he going to fit? Where? Answer me that question. Because unless you give me a proper fit, I don't think this is going to work. Unless they get rid of Jesper Fast or whoever else they have, unless they get rid of them in free agency or trade somebody somewhere else, where is he going to fit? That is my issue.
To be honest with you, the way I'm seeing it, because I now have it up in front of me, which I use dailyfaceoff.com, which is good. If you want to find line combinations, you go there. So it's really good because they also have the jerseys, which I thought was interesting. You bring up a good point because obviously you have Zibanejad as your number one. Right now you have Ryan Strome as your number two, who has done very well since he's gotten to the Rangers. Good for him.
Very well. That's an understatement. He's pretty much revitalized his career.
Another one of those, Edmonton screwed up, and that's fine. You have Brett Howden on the fourth line, obviously, and you have Filipino. Here's the thing. Ryan Strome, I think, is what? He is 25?
I think so, yeah.
How old is Ryan Strome? Ryan Strome is something like 25. He's got to be something.
I think he's 26.
Like Billy Squat. He's in his mid-20s. Okay, so
He's
right
20,
now
he's 27.
all right. So he's like kind of in the prime of his career. Hear me out. Just hear me out. You could maybe package him to try to get someone else on your defense, because I will say the biggest area of work that the Rangers have to put together, as Jimmy just passed out, is simply the defense, because you have Ryan Lindgren and Adam Fox as your first pairing. Brendan Smith, who, Jimmy, you should know this, Brendan Smith needs to go. He is a tire fire, and he is trash. I'm just going to be honest. Jacob Trouba.
That I could agree with.
He has not done as well as I think the expectations were for him. But then again, this was his first year with the team. Give him time. Mark Stahl, he's okay. But again, like
he hasn't been the same.
And then you have the massive right-winged Anthony DeAngelo. And I say that wholeheartedly because I'm not a big fan of Anthony DeAngelo, even though he's from Jersey. Personality-wise. Player-wise, he's okay. Personality-wise, he could be somewhat of a SOB.
A D-nozzle?
Yeah. But anyway, it's conceivable. You might laugh at this, Jimmy, but it's conceivable. You could put Lafreniere on like the freaking third line, right? And you put Hedl on the fourth, and then you have 4 talented centers that can, and like Philip Hedl with Phil DiGiuseppe and Greg McKegg, that would make that fourth line a lot more talented. And if you have 4 lines that have at least one guy that could put the puck in the back of the net, you got a pretty deep team. You really do. And again,
they already have a deep team. That's my point. They're already stacked.
I mean, yeah, they kind of are. The other thing is this.
Kind of.
I think Lafreniere also can play wing. So if you wanted to do that, you could just get rid of Brendan Lemieux because he's a head case and a half.
Oh, come on.
You know I'm right. This man literally does nothing but hurt people unnecessarily. Like he literally does nothing else. You could put Lafreniere literally on that like third line and think about it. Think about the fact that this man will have so many like favorable matchups with lesser talented lines. I like him paired with Philip Hedl on that third line. I think that would be good, especially with Gauthier, who I feel like Gauthier should get like underrated Ranger of the Year, just because I felt like he was decent. I felt like he kind of like came out of nowhere. Was he a Ranger developed guy? I don't remember him.
I don't think so, no.
Team. But, yeah, you bring up a good point, Jimmy. That Rangers have a deep team that they've done a fine job of developing and, everything like that. And look, if they didn't have Strome, it would be easy for us to say, okay, we'll put Lafreniere on the second line, or, we'll move Philip Hedl to the second line and put Lafreniere on the third.
I would have felt a lot better about this if that was the case. But because they have Ryan Strome, who has revitalized his career, and Philip Hedl's going to be an absolute stud, I don't think this is going to work. It's not going to work. And also...
So let me ask you this question then.
Oh, go ahead.
Since obviously you're in this position, is there a situation where you would be okay with trading the number 1 overall pick?
Only if they get a good haul from somewhere. Don't give me something ridiculous like, we're gonna trade it to Buffalo for Jack Eichel. I don't want to hear that garbage.
Well, Jack Eichel's also a centerman, which then again, where would you put him?
Exactly my point.
You would be better off getting a haul to add pieces of things that you need. Again, I will say the defense. You need somebody to replace Brendan Smith. I think that's important.
Yeah. If you're gonna have a scenario where you're gonna trade it, get a solid defenseman. Get somebody who's a young defenseman who can actually block shots and turn the puck over for you and not against you.
Well, let me be honest with you. You're not going to get like a 21, 22-year-old,
Well, I'm
star defenseman. I think most likely you would get an opportunity to get a defenseman that's already playing in the prime of his career, like I'll throw out some random ones, and folks, don't take this seriously, okay? I'm not saying that this is going to happen. But, you get somebody like a Erik Karlsson or a Victor Hedman or I guess a Yossi to a lesser extent. You know what I'm saying? Like
Roman Yossi would be a nice fit.
He's probably going to be the Norris Trophy winner this year. At least in my book, I think he should be.
Yeah, I agree.
But, the Rangers could very well get that. And, this is something interesting too. If there's a team out there that let's say is relatively competitive that wants it, and they have cap space, and you could try to include Lundqvist's contract on that deal and kind of move on from Lundqvist. Because
you could.
Because I think personally, the Rangers have made it clear without really saying it that they are done with Henrik Lundqvist. Like they really, really want to move on. Because you can't go into next season with 3 goalies again.
No.
You can't do that. Because you have to give Shesterkin, now that he will go into his first full season, you got to let him go. You got to give him a chance to play. That's what the Devils did with Mackenzie Blackwood this year, basically for a different reason because Corey was hurt.
Right.
Blackwood was going to get the load, and he played his first full season in the NHL. You got to give him that opportunity, and you got to give Georgiev a chance to play more because Georgiev is a solid young backup goalie. And if you have 2 solid goaltenders like Columbus has with Elvis Merzlikins and Jonas Korpisalo, you got a good opportunity no matter who you have in net to win a game. So, that's thing. So, but you would be okay with trading the number 1 overall pick if it meant getting players of need.
Yes, only if it was for a solid defenseman who can still be serviceable. I don't want another center. I don't want another winger. I don't want any more offensive players. We need defense because clearly, Neil, what have I been saying for the longest time? Their defense has been their weakness for the past God knows how many years, and it has not helped their goaltending as much. Well, so that's the only scenario where I could see you trading it away if you get a good, solid defenseman who can actually be of service to you. That's all I'm trying to say.
I mean, if the Rangers have learned anything from the Henrik Lundqvist era is that they can't allow what happened with Lundqvist to happen to the young goaltending that they already
Exactly.
Just have it that they have to make 40, 50 saves. And, most hockey fans, when they see stats, they get excited. They say, oh, wow, 40, 50 saves. I look at it and say, that's some pretty bad defense, if you ask me. If you're not blocking at least 7, 8 shots, you're not doing well. You're not doing
yet people will still blame the goaltending. Yeah, okay.
Well, that's typical.
I know how Ranger fans work. I know how they work.
I wasn't going to say typical Rangers fans. That's typical hockey fans. I know a lot of hockey fans that are like that. I'm sure there's a lot of Nashville Predators fans that are going, oh, what a terrible job Saros did in the play-in round against Arizona, blah, blah, blah. Like, it's stuff like, oh, what a terrible job Jari and Matt Murray did against the Canadians. Oh, my God. It's all, oh, Mike Smith was pure hot garbage, which, to be fair, he kind of was. But he's pure hot garbage. Koskinen was there. Like, that's the typical thing.
Right.
And speaking from a Devils fan who had the pleasure of having arguably the greatest goaltender to ever play the position in your net for over 20 years, you take for granted sometimes when you have tremendous goaltending that when they have a bad game, you think the sky is falling. And the reality is that sometimes it's not. Sometimes your defense is pure garbage.
What? I was going to say, even the greatest goalies of all time have bad games.
Right.
Patrick Waugh had bad games, all right? So.
Right. And look, I spoke to
I'm pretty sure Glenn Hall had bad games, all right? So, even though he played.
Davidson?
even though he played in 502 consecutive games and
John
was
Davidson.
a stone wall for the Blackhawks his entire career, he had bad games. All right,
John Davidson
and I'm
had
sure
bad
he would
games.
tell you that.
John Davidson had bad games.
Exactly.
I mean, Ken Dryden probably had bad games.
Yep.
Patrick Law had a bad game that resulted in him getting traded to Colorado. So,
Exactly.
you know,
And how that worked out for Patrick Waugh.
Right. The difficult thing this year, particularly with the first overall pick, is that there were a lot of teams that I would say, like, they didn't have a place. They may not have a place to necessarily put Lafreniere in the top 6. If the Devils got it, we'd be like, great. But at the same time, it'd be like, but we already have Jack Hughes and Nico. Where are we putting Lafreniere? Third line?
There you go. There you go.
The reason why, as a Devils fan, I was happy with getting 7 is that we're sitting there and saying, okay, look, a lot of those top wingers and forwards are going to be taken. There might be a situation where we have Jack Sanderson there at 7, and it's like, okay, we need to work on defense. Let's draft a defenseman. We went out. Like, we're in a position where we're going to probably draft players of need, like guys that need to fill out the depth of our team in the future, the prospect pool. The Rangers, the negative thing about having the first overall pick is that then you have that pressure because you might have people that say, Lafreniere might be a once-in-a-generational talent, but we don't have a place to put him. We don't have a place where we feel comfortable. Do we just draft do we just draft someone of need? Like, do we just freak everybody out? Because the way drafts usually go is that if the consensus number 1 overall pick doesn't go number 1 overall, they drop a lot.
Yep.
Because then all of a sudden teams are like, wait, why didn't you take him? Like, what's wrong? Then you start calling the Rangers like, why did you not take him? Like, what's the matter?
Because where are you going to fit him? Where are you going to fit him?
But see, the thing is that Lafreniere's stock could be hurt dramatically if the Rangers don't take him, even if they did, the thing. And again, let's be honest. With any first overall pick, there is no guarantee that they are going to be amazing.
Thank you.
Did the Oilers and Maple Leafs get lucky with Connor McDavid and Austin Matthews? Without a doubt. They're both tremendously talented players, and they're as good as they were hyped up to be.
Even though their teams flat out couldn't get the job done, but we'll get to that in a little bit.
You have Nico Hischier, who has slowly developed into a very talented player, a guy who could be a two-way forward, a guy who could be a future Selke Trophy Award winner, in my opinion. So you have that. You have Rasmus Dahlin, who's a very, very talented defenseman, and has been, but he plays in Buffalo. So of course people are gonna say, "Oh, he sucks," because it's like, what do you expect a defenseman to be the best player on your team? That's a little bit that's not great, but it's you have things like that. People want to say Jack Hughes is a bust, dude. I explained already all the problems that he had.
Played 1 year. He played 1 year.
People thought Kakko was a bust. People think Kakko's a bust because he had 25 points? And at one time he was on the 4th line, if I'm not mistaken. He got put down on the 4th line.
That's a load of bullshit to me. Absolute bullshit.
What I said?
No, that people are thinking Kakko.
The problem is that people always want the Connor McDavid, the Austin Matthews type player that immediately comes in and is by far.
Well, I got news for you. Sorry, life doesn't always work like that.
Look,
sorry.
It doesn't hurt for Austin Matthews that he has incredible talent around him. Mitch Marner, William Nylander, Kasperi Kapanen, John Tavares. I think I'm missing someone important, but guys like that. Morgan Riley, it doesn't hurt to have that much talent around you. Connor McDavid has at least Leon Draisaitl, who could very well also win the Hart Trophy as league MVP this year. Sometimes you need to have other players around you. The reason why I'm excited for Lafreniere from his standpoint, if he goes to the Rangers and if they find a place for him, is that he's not labeled as the savior. He's not labeled as, he's the guy that's going to turn around the Rangers. The Rangers were already on the turnaround. The Rangers were already moving and grooving. They already have their star player in Panarin. They already have a dominant goal scorer in Mika Zibanejad. They got Chris Kreider, who still puts up 25, 30 goals a year. Even if he's an asshole, he still puts up 25, 30 goals a year. Lafreniere could come in and, for all we know, Jimmy, could be on the 3rd line and puts up 30 goals as a 3rd liner. You don't tell me you wouldn't be happy to have a third line centerman putting up 30 goals.
Listen, I guess the bottom line with what I'm trying to say is that I'm not as mad as I was the other night, but I'm still I'm annoyed because the small market teams like Minnesota, who I was pulling for to get the #1 overall pick because they absolutely need it. I was pulling for the small market guys. Minnesota, Winnipeg, Nashville, Dallas. I mean, those teams could use Lafreniere way more than the Rangers. Can you imagine if he had if Winnipeg got the #1 overall pick and you put up Lafreniere with Patrick Laine? I mean, are you absolutely kidding? Are you absolutely kidding me?
Well, first of all, I would say this about Winnipeg is that they were probably going to have to move one of those big name players anyway, regardless. I think that they're one of those teams that's going to be screwed by the fact that there is going to be the salary cap is staying the way it is. It may not have been Laine. It might have been like Josh Morrissey, maybe. It could have been Andrew Kopp, guys like that. But still, no. The Jets, to no really fault that much of their own, have kind of lost a lot of talent. So getting a guy like that's my
point. That's my point. If Lafreniere went there, they would have gotten some of that back, considering the fact that everybody's talking about how good this kid is.
Right, and they would have probably put him on the second line.
Their only relevant player is Patrick Laine. Who else do they have besides him?
Mark Scheifele, Blake Wheeler, Andrew Kopp. I mean, they do have a lot of talent still.
Yeah, but they lost the majority of it.
Well, no, not yet. They still have all those guys. They still have all those guys. I'm saying that they could move one or two of those guys for salary cap reasons. I don't know.
I guess.
Minnesota has never drafted #1 overall. The highest pick they've ever gotten was, I think, third in 1988. I think 88 or 87.
And their most recent highest draft pick was Matt Dumba, and that was in 2012.
So, I mean, did Minnesota need it? I mean, look, Minnesota still has a lot of talent. They could still be competitive, but adding a younger, talented player along with Kaprizov coming over,
it would have benefited them a lot more. A lot.
Oh, absolutely. They would have been fine. But this is, the Rangers kind of their rebuild gets kind of expedited a little bit more because of getting a talented player like an Alexis Lafreniere, and that's just how it goes sometimes. And look, we don't know what could happen between now and October when this draft happens.
Right.
They could trade it. We have no freaking idea because remember, we're starting the Stanley Cup playoffs today.
Yeah.
We got a long way to go before anything happens.
That's true. See. That's true. But
we'll see.
Listen,
I have a trivia question. I don't know when you wanted me to.
No, yes, we'll get into that. We'll get into that in a few minutes. But I guess I'll finish by saying this again. Am I happy for Lafreniere? Yes, I am, because I want him to succeed. I think he's going to be a stud. But my problem, again, one of the problems I have is that, well, a couple. Like I said, A, where you're going to fit him, and B, I just don't want him to be hyped up too much to the point where he, God forbid, has 1 to 2 bad seasons and everybody will come to the assumption, oh, what the hell were you thinking? Now he's an absolute bust. I don't want it to come to that scenario because I know how New York fans work and operate. They think you bring in one guy, you're automatically supposed to win a championship. I'm sorry, it does not work like that. So, if this is going to work, give him time, and you need to figure out a way where you're going to fit him on one of the lines. That is my point. And again, if you plan on trading this pick away, get it for defense. Please get it for defense. That's all I ask. That's the bottom line of what I'm trying to say. I'm happy for the kid.
I want him to
succeed, but I'm annoyed because the smaller market teams like Minnesota and Winnipeg and Nashville and Dallas deserved it a lot more than the Rangers. I'm sorry. That's how I see it.
Well, yeah. I mean, there's no question about it. Every year we have this problem. I mean, every year.
But
it's
anyway, Neil, you have a trivia question this week?
yeah, I do actually. So it involves the Rangers, and
Okay.
the Rangers only selected the first overall pick one other time other than now. What year was it, and who did they draft?
Oh my God.
I guarantee you will not get this.
Oh my God, I feel like I should know this.
No, you shouldn't. No, you should. You should not.
I feel like I should though, because 94 would be too obvious. That's not it.
It's not 94. They weren't that bad.
All right, so you're probably going back way further.
Yeah, dude. We're talking nearly 50 years.
50 years. Oh my gosh. So we're talking 19. So we're going back to the 60s here?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we're going to the 60s.
You might get the year, but as far as the player, you probably will not get it.
I feel like the player is...
It's not somebody you would know. It's not a famous player.
My only guess would be Brad Park, but I don't know.
Well, number one, Brad Park originally was on the Bruins.
Well, no. Wait a minute, no. He got drafted by the Rangers. Brad Park got traded to the Bruins.
He got traded to the Bruins.
He got traded with Jean Rattel.
Right.
But okay, so that's obviously not it then. So
here's the thing. I'll give you two more guesses.
Okay.
So go. You already used one.
Okay, so Brad Park is not it. So we're going to the 60s. Who? Oh my God.
Roaring 60s.
Can't be Jean Rattel either.
Not John Rattel. That's a left field answer right there. Does that count as one of your guesses? Are we saying that was one of your guesses?
Oh my, no. I was just making an assumption. Oh my God. All right, so the year. I'm probably gonna be dead wrong on this, but I'm gonna say 1960. The year I'm gonna say 1965.
Wow, you got it right.
It was 65. Oh my God! All right,
you're halfway there.
All right, so that's half right. That's half right. All right, so 65.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
I'll give you a hint. He never played an NHL game in his career.
Never played a game. Oh my God.
Nope. This is actually fascinating too. That I found this.
So the year is right. 65.
Yep. It's funny. It's a funny thing.
Yeah, I don't know, because the only two players I know who played for them in the 60s are Brad Park and Jean Rattel.
Well, I mean, Phil Esposito played.
Oh, Phil Esposito too.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. You got me with the player, but I'm really shocked I got the year right.
Okay, so this is from, I think it's called lohud.com, which I guess is Long Island. Something I'm not really sure.
I think so, yeah.
This article was put out yesterday, like right after the draft lottery. It said the Rangers have only selected first overall only once in their history other than 2020. Back in 1965, when they took forward Andre Velo, who never ended up playing in an NHL game. So the Rangers have never drafted a player number one overall who actually played. So even if Lafreniere plays in a preseason game, he is already a better first overall pick in Rangers history than Andre Velo. And it shouldn't be surprising that the Rangers don't have that many first round picks, because you have to remember, a majority of their history, they've always been a competitive team. So this doesn't surprise me. I was just curious to know if they ever had it in the first place.
Wow. So year was right, but you stumped me on the player. That was a good one, man. That was a real good one.
I thought it was that
was a good one.
Yeah.
So
would you like to also hear about the list of Texas Rangers first round draft picks as well?
Texas Rangers.
I typed in Rangers and that was what came up. You always get something good.
Oh my God.
Oh, fun fact, Ron Darling, who later became a great New York Met, was actually originally drafted by the Texas Rangers in 1980.
I forgot about that.
R.A.
Yeah.
Dickey also was drafted by the Texas Rangers.
Yeah. Huh.
Same thing with anybody else that people know? Anybody from New Jersey? Nope. Oh, wait. Got one. Jeff Kunkel was a shortstop.
Oh.
Went to Rider University.
Hey, nice. There we go.
Only one New Jersey kid. You guys suck. You guys suck. No, this is bullcrap.
We need more Jersey boy
There's
players.
a lot of good talent in baseball in New Jersey.
Yeah.
You just
Absolutely,
have to look really hard.
Yeah, absolutely. But no, that was a good question, man. That was really, really good. But I will have my trivia question coming up for you this upcoming
Better remember.
Thursday. And it's going to be a little bit different from the standard trivia, but that's just a little bit of a tease for you. I think you'll like it. Trust me. I think you'll like it. But anyway, real quick to wrap things up here, let's discuss a little bit about the Stanley Cup playoffs because it is crazy. It is absolutely nuts. First of all, the qualifiers were insane. Obviously, you have, Carolina, who clearly looks like the team that went to the Eastern Conference Final last year. They mean serious business, and it looks like they're going to get Dougie Hamilton back, so that's going to be a real big boost for them.
I think the Rangers just became Hurricanes fans, by the way.
What's that?
I think Rangers fans just became fans of the Hurricanes. Which whoever runs the Hurricanes Twitter account is just a god.
I was just going to say they're having way too much fun with this, but you have Carolina, who clearly means business. Where did Arizona come from? I mean, holy crap! They also mean business, and like a team who, I mean, I get it. They were already good to begin with, but they just turned it on an extra level right now. I mean, they look like a team that can make a serious run in these playoffs. And then you have Columbus, who, by the way, played in probably one of the best series in the playoffs so far.
That was the most entertaining series I've ever watched. That was one of the most entertaining series I've ever watched.
I agree. Absolutely. It was definitely the best series so far this year.
Other than San Jose coming back last season from down 3-1 and then being down 3-0 in Game 7 against the Golden Knights.
Oh.
That was one of the that series between Toronto and Columbus was one of the most entertaining series. You had goaltending that was solid. It felt like at times the Blue Jackets could put in anybody and they would do well. The fact the Blue Jackets shut out the Maple Leafs twice in that round was impressive. And then in games 3 and 4, one of the teams was up 3-0, blew it, lost in overtime. I think game 4 was crazy because I didn't watch most of the game. I saw the Blue Jackets score the third goal with about 5 minutes to go or whatever it was.
Right.
And I was like, okay, that's pretty much that's all she wrote.
And then Toronto scores 3 unanswered.
And then it was like the first
within 4 minutes.
Yeah, actually it was less. It was like 3.5. That. And I remember the first goal, I was like, okay, like at least they got one. And I was still thinking, all right, the Blue Jackets will score an empty netter and that'll be the end of that.
Yeah.
But then it was 3-2, right like that. And I'm like, oh, don't tell me this is happening again. And sure enough, it happened again. And I'm like, there's no way that the Maple Leafs are going to lose this game. Like, once you got to overtime, it was like, you could say everything and anything till you're blue in the face if you're John Tortorella, but emotionally and mentally, they're shocked. Like, they're just like, did we really just blow a 3-0 lead?
Yes, you did.
Back?
Yes.
It was the craziest thing. And it was like, okay. And I really did think that after Toronto won that game, I was like, all right, well, that's the end of Columbus's run. Like, I was like, all right, it's a good run, blah, blah, blah. And not only did they win, they won playing playoff hockey, which is a defensive, low-scoring game. Your goaltending was on point. And, did they also have a little bit of luck? Without a doubt. John Tavares hit the post a couple times. That man was probably the best player other than probably Pierre-Luc Dubois for Columbus. John Tavares was probably the best player on the ice.
I agree.
He was really good from the first game to the last, and it's just unfortunate he kept hitting the post. It was one of those things where it's like, hey, That's hockey. It happens.
Yep.
And, it's just one of those like, well, once again, Toronto had high expectations.
And they blew it.
They couldn't get out of the first round in the regular Cup playoffs, and now they couldn't even get out of the qualifying round of this year. So it was like...
And speaking of another Canadian team who couldn't get out of the qualifiers, how about Chicago just beating up on Edmonton? Are you kidding me? Like,
now does my prediction look a little bit more realistic now?
What are you doing?
Does my prediction look a little bit more realistic now?
Who did you have again?
I had Chicago and Columbus.
I mean, yeah. I mean, I don't know if you remember, but a few episodes ago when we had on our good friend Kerry Ward, I actually picked Chicago to win the whole thing.
No, you didn't.
Yes, I did.
No, you
yes,
didn't.
I did. Yes.
There's no way you had.
Go back and watch or listen to the episode.
Let me see your bracket challenge. I want to see your bracket challenge when we're done.
I said, give me Chicago to win the Stanley Cup. I'm gonna fill in my bracket later today. But I have Chicago winning the whole thing.
You have 3 hours. You better hurry up.
Don't worry. I'll make time.
Here's a little bit of information. Dougie Hamilton is expected to play in Game 1 for the Hurricanes against the Boston Bruins.
Oh, he is gonna. Oh, beautiful.
It was. They said that he was probably going to be available for the first round if Carolina got that far. So now they got that far. Hopefully he could stay healthy.
Well, that definitely is a big boost for Carolina, but
it helps their defense even more than it was before.
Absolutely. But Chicago means business, especially the fact that Corey Crawford stole that series for Chicago. I mean, Corey Crawford was an absolute stud. Well, in the last game at least. In the last game.
I was gonna say he was solid. Like, he wasn't great. It wasn't a goaltending. The difference maker in that series for me was Dominic Kubalik.
My God.
Him and Jonathan Toews pretty much said that they were going to, on their own, carry that team. And you know what? You have to look at Chicago and say this. Were they one of those teams that people said they kind of didn't deserve to be there? Yeah. Clearly because of where they finished. But guess what?
Absolutely.
You're talking about a team that has won the Stanley Cup three
championships in 5 years.
Decade. Right. And three in 5 years. This is a team that still has Jonathan Toews, Patrick Kane, Duncan Keith, Corey Crawford, Brandon Saad. They still have veteran talent.
Oh, they also have a young stud in Kirby Dach.
And they have and then you have to talk about the young players. Kirby Dach, Jesper Boquist of the New Jersey Devils brother, Adam Boquist.
Oh yeah.
Nylander, which I think that's William Nylander's brother.
I think so, yeah.
Nylander. You have Dominic Kubalik. You have a deep team that can go and win, that can go and make a lot of noise in the playoffs. Now they go and play the Vegas Golden Knights. They play Vegas.
It is Vegas. You're right.
I mean, look, you're talking about two teams who have playoff experience, clearly, but you can't take off what Chicago just did. Chicago has experience.
You can't.
The roof. They can do it if they get past Vegas. Watch out.
Absolutely.
Because if you're St. Louis, if you get past the first round and you know Chicago's still there, you don't want to play Chicago again.
No.
In a
playoff. No.
You don't want that. No. You don't want that.
Speaking of other teams you don't want to play in the playoffs, the Flyers scare the living daylights out of me. I mean, where the hell do they pop up? All of a sudden,
more importantly, where did Scott Laughton came in?
5 goals left and right every night. I'm like, oh my God, these guys are absolutely lethal. So if you're a Flyer fan, you gotta be dancing around right now.
Absolutely. I mean, you look at, Carter Hart was solid. Brian Elliott was also solid, which you kind of wonder, like, hey, Philly for many years has always been like really good offense, solid defense, but mediocre goaltending.
Yep.
Is this that year where they actually have like legit goaltending? Like legit.
It looks like it.
We'll see. They played 3 games, and so we'll see. Scott Laughton. Where the hell did he come from? Scoring like literally every other game.
Right.
He scored the overtime game in the scrimmage against the Penguins.
Yep.
And he scored several times in the final 2 games of their round robin.
Yep.
I mean, Alain Vigneault, who I thought who has always been a very good head coach. He did well in Vancouver. He did well with the Rangers. And he's doing well with the Flyers. It doesn't surprise me.
Yeah, he is.
It really doesn't. They are playing to an identity. They're not the same, Philly tough, Broad Street bully type of, team. They have talent. They have talent that can put the puck in the back of the net. Travis Konechny can with his speed, can really do a tremendous job of setting up other guys. Claude Giroux may not be the same player that he once was, but he's still very good.
He's still very serviceable.
Sean Couturier, Jakub Voracek. I mean, they have good players all around their lineup. So I'm, as a Devils fan, obviously, I'm hoping that the Flyers don't go very far.
As a Ranger fan, I hope not either.
I think that's one thing you and I can agree on.
I hate to admit it, but dude, God, they are scary.
But
they are absolutely scary.
With that being said, they are facing the Montreal Canadiens in the first round.
Oh my God!
A rematch of the 2010 Eastern Conference
and wiped the floor with Pittsburgh. I mean, really?
Well, let's just say this. That might have really been the nail in the coffin for the dynasty that was the Penguins.
Yeah.
That might have been. Even Penguins fans are talking about it.
And Crosby even admitted it.
I wasn't going to say anything until after the draft lottery because I was terrified that the Penguins could get the first overall pick as well.
Right.
So I wanted to wait to make sure they didn't get it because now they have like the 16th overall pick. I know that they had a choice between giving Minnesota their first round pick this year or next year, and they chose to keep their pick this year.
Right.
The Penguins pretty much underestimated the Canadiens. Everybody acted like, oh, the Canadiens don't deserve to be here. They were the 24th team that got in. But the Penguins were upset because they said, we have to play Carey Price in a playoff series. And Carey Price did exactly what they were afraid he was going to do.
Yeah.
And that was steal the series. And that's what happened. That's pretty much what happened. The Penguins have nobody to blame but themselves. They were a better team all around, and they didn't prove it. They didn't show up. They just let the Canadiens do it. So if I'm the Flyers, you better not underestimate the Canadiens. Because the Canadiens at this point are sitting there like, why not? Let's go win the damn Stanley Cup. Let's just prove to everybody that we're better than that. People were talking about the Canadiens, it's going to be rigged, that Alexis Lafreniere, the French, Quebec talented player that he is going to end up going to Montreal, which would have made perfect sense.
Yep.
Perfect sense. The Canadiens are sitting there like, screw the first overall pick. Let's go win the Stanley Cup instead.
Yeah,
why not?
pretty much.
I have them going to the conference finals. I have that much confidence in Montreal.
You know what?
I have that much confidence.
Oh, by the way, they're the last Canadian team to win a Stanley Cup, and that was in 1993.
And
so you can tell they're hungry for Canada to win another Stanley Cup.
And I will repeat this for the umpteenth time. There is no home ice advantage. There are no crowds.
Yep.
It is 50-50 every game. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Okay? The two teams that theoretically had home ice advantage are already gone.
Yep.
I mean, you're going to have a team win the Stanley Cup in the Oilers arena before the Oilers even win it. Before the Oilers even get there. Think about that.
It's unbelievable.
Bad. But the Canadiens, they're a scary team right now. They are battle tested and battle scary.
Absolutely. But here's the series I'm most interested in before we get into who we think will win the Stanley Cup. The series I'm most interested in.
I thought I was going to say we should do it just round by round. Like who we just think is going to get out of the round.
No. Actually, you know what?
We already did our predictions.
Well,
We already know what we said.
That's true.
Let's go round by round. So we'll
do
But first round this week, and then whenever the second round starts, we'll do that.
Yeah. But before we get into that, the series I'm most interested in is Tampa and Columbus. Because for those that don't remember last year, Tampa Bay won the President's Trophy.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
Faced
what
Columbus in the first round, and Columbus swept them in 4 games. So Tampa is looking for a little bit of a revenge against this same Columbus team, who, all in all, also looks scary as hell. So could Columbus sweep them again? They could, but it's very, very unlikely that they will again. I don't think they will. I think this will go at least 6 games. But hey, I could be wrong. We'll see. We'll make our official predictions in a little bit. But if I'm Tampa, if Tampa gets swept by this team again,
clean house.
we might as well just not even discuss them for years to come. They'll be so irrelevant in the
With the Sharks of the East.
The regular season doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. I don't care if you go undefeated in the regular season. If you get swept by this team again, you will be the laughing stock of the National Hockey League, at least in the postseason, for many, many years, unless you go win the Stanley Cup. That is how much Tampa wants revenge so bad. So if I'm John Cooper, who, by the way, I think is still a good head coach, I am giving my team the biggest pep talk ever, especially considering the fact that you faced them last year and you got your ass kicked. So, Tampa, get your you-know-what together, go out there and handle your business against Columbus, and do not take them for granted. That's all I got to say about that.
I think one thing that people will forget about that series last year between Tampa and Columbus is that the Lightning were up 3-0 at the end of the first period of Game 1. I mean, right then and there, you said, okay, Columbus is done. But then John Tortorella, because this is how good he is, he lit a fire into that team. He was not going to let them just, go down on their knees and just give up. He was going to make them work hard. So much so that not only did they come back and win that game, they won Game 2 and then 3 and then 4 and swept them aside, like you mentioned. The reason why I don't think it's going to be a sweep this time is primarily because, again, there's no crowds. There's no advantage for either team. It's just going to be hockey. It's not like the NBA where talent usually a lot of the time prevails in games, especially if it's not, because NBA is not as unpredictable as the NHL is. That's just my opinion on that. But Columbus is coming in with a massive amount of confidence because they're fully healthy. I think they're a better team than they were last year. And you're talking about a team that has Artemi Panarin, Bobrovsky, and Matt freaking Duchene on their team. You have a team that is a workman-like, blue-collar playoff team. They're not going to score a lot of goals. They're going to defend really well. They're going to make it miserable for that offense of Tampa. Tampa, once again, loaded up with offense. They acquired Barclay Goodrow for a first-round pick, which I thought was excessive. They gave up another first-round pick, albeit it wasn't their own, but they gave up a first-round pick and Nolan Foote, a top prospect, for Blake Coleman. Was that a lot? Yeah, I think it was. That's just me, but again, the Lightning looked pretty good until they faced the Flyers in the third game. But that, it is what it is. That's still a very good Tampa team. A team that still doesn't have Stamkos, by the way. That's still that I think he may be coming back for the first round or could be coming back in the middle of the series. I'm not sure. Right. Tampa knows what happened last year. They know they don't want to go through that again. But at the same time, they know that it could very well happen because they know the type of team that John Tortorella is going to have playing for him. They're not going to go out and be terrible defensively. They're going to work extremely hard. They're going to be physical. They're going to bump around. If Tampa lets up even a little bit, Columbus is going to make them pay. Make them pay. Werenski, you have Jones, you have a goaltending tandem in Korpisalo and Merzlikins, even though Merzlikins
and you still have Cam Atkinson.
Oh, and you still have Cam Atkinson, who I think is one of the most underrated players in the National Hockey League.
I agree.
And you have a budding superstar in Pierre-Luc Dubois, who everybody thought was such a reach when he got drafted. And he has proven to be a dynamite player for that Columbus team. You have a lot of good players on that team. Could they have benefited from getting a player like Lafreniere? Yeah, absolutely. But you know what? He doesn't fit their system.
No.
Their system is about grinding it out. They don't need superstars to win. John Tortorella has proven that. This team has had more adversity than any team in the postseason right now. They've had so many injuries. They've lost several of the key players. They still won hockey games. They still made it into a postseason position.
Yep.
They wanted to play Toronto in that first round, and they proved that they were the better team. Is it concerning that they had that, 3-0 lapse in game 4? Yeah. But is it going to happen a lot? No. It won't happen again. I can promise you that. John Tortorella is not going to allow his team to let up. They're looking at it and saying, dude, we could actually make a run this year. We don't, let's do it. Why the hell not? If they get past Tampa, I can't, not want to pick Columbus to go to the final.
Absolutely.
Because if they get past Tampa again, every other team in the Eastern Conference is going to say, oh, no.
Yep. Here we go again. Here we go again. So with that being said, let's go to each series and predict who is going to.
Yes, and we did not talk about every series because some of them are not that.
Yeah. Yeah, like for example, Boston and Carolina, that's not really knocking my socks off. I've got Carolina cruising past. Yes, because Boston hasn't looked the same since the restart. Has Boston looked that special? No. Carolina's clearly better than them.
But Carolina's fun to watch.
Well,
Carolina's fun to watch. What are you talking about?
Well, they are, but the Bruins, sorry, they don't look the same. Give me Carolina in 5 for that one. Islanders and the Capitals, that's going to be...
Carolina in 5?
Yes, you heard me correct. 5 games. You heard me. I think they're that good. And they proved it against the Rangers.
Can I make my prediction now?
Sure.
Can we just go back and forth with each game?
No, go ahead.
Okay.
Go ahead.
I'm just trying to comprehend what you just said. Look,
it's bold, isn't it?
No, look. Carolina wants revenge from last season losing in the conference finals, without a doubt. I think Boston will get their act together if they stay healthy. If everybody's cohesively playing, they'll be fine. I have Boston winning in 7. I think that series is going to go to distance.
Okay.
I don't think Carolina's just going to be pushed around like they were last year. Because last year, they were on somewhat of a magical ride. They beat the defending champs at the time, the Washington Capitals. They beat up on the Islanders in the second round. And, they could have, but I think their magic kind of ran out when they played Boston. I think this is going to be a very tough series, and I think it's going to come down to goaltending. I think if Tuukka Rask is playing at the level that he needs to play, if he's fit to play, because I know he was not fit to play the last 2 games, or I think the last game in Halak. But Halak has also been very solid as well. Both James Reimer and Peter Mrazek could win you a hockey game as well. So I think this is going to come down to who's going to have the better goaltending. But give me Boston in 7.
All right, so Neil, Boston in 7. I have Carolina in 5. I know it's bold, but hey, that's the beauty of sports.
It's 2020. You could be as bold as you want.
Exactly.
You know what? You'll probably be right.
Well, who knows? We'll see. Islanders and Capitals, that's going to be a little bit intriguing, but honestly, and I hate to say it, I think the Islanders are a better team. I have them in 7 over the Caps. I think the Islanders are a much better team. I really, really do. Now, I get it. The Caps still have Ovi. They're not slowing Ovechkin down. There's no slowing him down. And yes, Ilya Kovalchuk is there, but
he's playing well.
Well, he is surprisingly.
That first power play line of him, Ovechkin, Oshie, Carlson is just ridiculous.
No,
the scoring there is ridiculous.
It's pretty lethal, but I don't know. Something my gut tells me that the Islanders are just a tad bit better, not on the offensive side, because I know how lethal Ovi is, but as far as blocking shots, that's where I think that and special teams is going to be a big factor in this series. And the Islanders' special teams is actually pretty decent. So Islanders in 6.
Ooh,
wait, did I say 7 or 6?
You said 7.
7. I'm sorry.
Was it 7 or 6?
7. Islanders in 7.
7. All right, cool. I got a couple really good friends that are Islanders fans. My friend Kim in particular. I know that she's going to be ready to go for game one, that whole series basically. The Islanders are going to win if Varlamov continues to play the way he's been playing. Because Varlamov has not really resurrected his career, but he has certainly taken it to another level. And he's facing his former team in the Washington Capitals.
Yep.
So he's getting an opportunity to try to, one-up this team. The Capitals in the round robin at times looked good and at other times looked a little bit lackluster. If John Carlson is not ready to go, if he's still unfit to play, that's gonna be something that the Islanders want to take advantage of. The one question I have for the Islanders, can they start scoring consistently? They have really good defense, very solid goaltending, but they lack goal scoring. They have good players like Matthew Barzal, Anders Lee, Brock Nelson,
Jordan Eberle,
Anthony Beauvillier. They have a lot of good scoring players. Can they start scoring a little bit more in the playoffs? I don't know. But with that being said, I want the Islanders to win, but I have the Capitals winning in 7.
Caps in 7. Okay.
Caps in
Okay.
7. Yep.
Okay.
Caps in 7.
All right. So we both have a 7-game series, but opposing teams. I have the Islanders. You have the Caps. So here's where it's going to get interesting.
You have Carolina in 5.
What's? Hey, I could be dead wrong, but we'll see.
If they do that, I'll do like a David Ayers shirt or whatever. Jesus Christ.
Tampa and Columbus. Boy, oh boy.
Where
do I fall on this?
This is easy for me.
But listen, it's like I said before. I really don't have to go into any more detail.
I know what you want to say. Say it.
Tampa's looking for revenge.
Say it.
Columbus looks like they mean business. But here's the thing.
Say it.
Give me Columbus.
And how many?
Me Columbus. Columbus in 6. 6 games. I do not think Tampa is going to be swept again. It's not going to happen. I think Tampa will be a little bit more competitive than they were last year against this team, but Columbus is still better. They're still better. They're better defensively. They're not going to score a lot, like you said, Neil, but at the end of the day, that defense is going to be an absolute nightmare, and their goaltending has been superb. Give me Columbus in 6.
Well, I hate to burst your bubble.
Oh, no.
With the talent that Tampa has, Kucherov, Stamkos, Point, Hedman, I think I said Stamkos right. Yeah, Blake Coleman, Vasilevsky and net. I got to say it. Columbus in 6.
Oh, yes.
I agree.
Yes.
I mean, I don't have to go into it any further. I think that Columbus is in Tampa's head. I really do think that. I think Tampa probably, whether they want to admit it or not, this was probably the one team they didn't want to face, at least not right now. And we'll see. But again, no home ice advantage for either team. So for all we know, Tampa could come out and be like, all right, cool, we have no pressure. Like, let's just go out and kick their ass. Columbus is going to have the same thing. John Tortorella is going to be raring and ready to go to play Tampa again. And if they get down 3-0 in the first period of game 1, we already know what's coming.
Yep.
We already know it's going to happen. So
yep. So you and I.
6.
So you and I are in lockstep with this one. Columbus in 6.
Fire off the cannons, baby.
What's that?
Fire off the cannons, baby.
Absolutely. Philadelphia and Montreal. I mean, I really don't have too much to say about this. I think the Flyers are absolutely going to wipe the floor with the Canadiens. I mean, granted, I'm not sleeping on the Canadiens.
There you are.
I think it's actually going to be a competitive series. I actually think the Flyers winning in 7. I think it's going to be a 7-game series. I think the Canadiens are a much better team than I expected them to be. But the Flyers have the advantage on offense and in goaltending, I feel like. So Flyers in 7 for me against Montreal. There really is nothing more for me to say on that. And I hate the Flyers, but sorry, I think they're the better team in this.
Habs in 6.
Oh,
Habs in 6 for one reason and one reason only, and that is Carey freaking Price. Carey Price is playing the best hockey in the playoffs I have ever seen him play.
That is true.
This team has so little pressure on them that they're just going to go out and play. they're going to go out and play. The Flyers got the pressure. They got they're the number one seed. They're the ones everybody's saying, oh, they're going to go to the Cup. It's the Flyers, baby. They choke every year. And it's usually their goaltending. Don't be surprised if Carter Hart starts struggling. Don't be shocked. And if the Canadiens get a lead early on in some of these games, it's not going to be easy for the Flyers to come back. Just saying.
We'll see.
I'm giving Habs in 6, baby.
All right, so you have Habs in 6. I have Flyers in 7. Let's go to the West real quick. So,
no,
I haven't really paid attention to these two teams all that much, to be honest.
West guy.
St. Louis and Vancouver, I mean, I still think it's going to be an interesting series. I mean, St. Louis obviously has Tarasenko, all those guys, but Vancouver I didn't really pay that much attention to because I just think they're a boring team to watch. Hot take, sorry, but I'm kidding. I'm kidding. Vancouver has a lot of young talent. I'm not denying that by any stretch of the imagination.
They don't have their first round pick this year though. So.
Well, yeah, that's true. But I mean,
thank you, Vancouver.
Yep. I mean, obviously, Blues defending Stanley Cup champions. They're looking to repeat, but I hate to say it, that ain't gonna happen this year. Give me Vancouver in 6 games. Sorry, I think Vancouver's got the edge with young talent here.
Do you just want to piss off everyone? I feel like you just want to piss off everyone by giving these rant. I guarantee you a week ago you wouldn't have said Carolina in 5. I guarantee you a week ago you wouldn't have said Carolina in 5. Also, just to let everybody know, I did have the Rangers winning in 4 against the Hurricanes. So
wait, what's that?
I had the Rangers beating the Hurricanes in 4 in the qualifying round. So,
dude, really, really,
I don't, dude, don't dude me.
Oh my God.
All right. Anyway, this is going to be an interesting series because Vancouver. I thought Vancouver played in one of the more entertaining series other than Columbus versus Toronto. Because that also they didn't go 5, that went 4. But it was still very entertaining. And I thought I did stay up and watch the end of Game 4, and I never would have thought 11 seconds in they would have scored and won the game. It was a pretty weird situation. Vancouver is a very interesting team because they do have a lot of young talent and also some experience as well. I mean, you have Elias Pettersson, who from the draft in 2017 might be the best overall player from that draft.
I agree.
He was drafted 4th overall, I want to say.
I think so, yeah.
4th overall. That was the Nico Hischier, Nolan Patrick thing. But Elias Pettersson, he has done very well. You have Brock Besser. You have, Bo Horvat. You have Quinn Hughes. You have Jakob Markstrom, who I think is a very solid goaltender. And he can really do something. But if Vancouver has to go to Louis Domingue, I don't like my chances there with Vancouver. St. Louis. Let's talk about them for a minute. Kind of a funny, I guess, round robin for them. I mean, they nearly dropped to the 3rd seed. I think 3rd or 4th. It was something they were going to. I think it was the 4th actually. They could have dropped to if they didn't beat Dallas. So they were in danger of being put in a weird position. They still look defending Cup champs. Jordan Binnington, who was deemed unfit to play in the last game. So hopefully he's okay by the time Game 1 starts.
Yeah.
Jake Allen is still a very good backup. I mean, there's a chance he's probably going to go somewhere else after this year. I just don't know where. You have really good offense in, let's go with David Perron, Ryan O'Reilly, Vladimir Tarasenko, Robert Thomas, guys like that. You have guys that can come through in those situations. You have good defense in Alex Pietrangelo, Colton Parayko, Justin Falk, who, has been somewhat of a disappointment at times with St. Louis. I like the Blues. They're the defending Cup champs, but Vancouver in 7. This is random, but I'm going Vancouver in 7.
Okay.
I think Jakob Markstrom is going to be the one that steals the show in this series. I really do.
So you and I agree on the teams. All right, there we go.
Yeah. I don't have Vancouver winning in my bracket challenge, but I guess here I'll just say Vancouver in 7. I don't win $1 million here, Jimmy. So
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
But I'm gonna go with Vancouver in 7.
All right. That's fair enough. Fair enough. So Dallas and Calgary, I really don't have too much to say. What's that?
This one's easy for me.
Yeah, same with me. Give me Dallas in 6. Dallas in 6. I think Dallas is an extremely underrated team, and nobody's talking about how talented they are. I mean, I get it. I mean, everybody talks about Tyler Seguin. Look at who's around him. That's pretty much all I gotta say. Dallas in 6.
Well, I disagree with you wholeheartedly. I have Calgary in 5.
Calgary in 5?
Calgary's a lot better team than Dallas.
Oh my God.
A lot better. Because look, what is the one thing that Dallas did not do in the round robin? They couldn't score.
True.
For some reason, they have a lot of talent, and I know Tyler Seguin didn't play in the last game of the round robin, but nobody's getting on a hot roll right now. Joe Pavelski's he's nowhere to be seen. Jamie Benn, but do they still have like Mikko Heiskanen and John Klingberg defense-wise? Yeah, and that's very solid. Can Ben Bishop stay freaking healthy? I don't know. He hasn't proven it yet. Is Hugh Dobin a good backup or a guy that you can plug in? Yeah, he's pretty good too. I won't lie. They have decent goaltending. I'm not going to question it. But I think Calgary's a better team. I think the reason is going to be Matthew Tkachuk, who is already, pretty much the most hated player in the bubble, is going to be physical in this series. Sam Bennett as well. That's a physical Calgary team. They're not going to score a whole lot unless it's Johnny Gaudreau and also Matthew Tkachuk. He can score too. But they're going to be physical, and they're going to wear down a much older Dallas Stars team. So I like Calgary. I don't think this is going to be that crazy of a series, and I'm going to go with Calgary.
All right. Well, I may be an idiot after this, but hey, we'll see. I almost said Phoenix, Arizona, and Colorado. This is going to be
to me. They still play in Phoenix.
Well, yes, yeah, they do. But this is going to be interesting because with Colorado, you have Nate McKinnon, who is pretty much the backbone of that team. Another Hart Trophy finalist, by the way, I think is deservingly of the award because of the fact that he has had a dominant season. So
he's the only one of the 3 that's still in the playoffs.
Yeah, exactly.
That should just tell you that right away.
Exactly. But again, where did Arizona come from? I mean, they just turned it up to another level when it came to the playoffs. I mean, Taylor Hall is still decent-ish. I mean, unless he's just trying to piss off Devil fans like you, Neil. But we're not gonna get into all that. But
no, I just need them to win another playoff series, then get knocked out, and then Taylor Hall resigns, and I get a first-round pick. I'm cool.
Hey, there you go. But you got him. I think their goaltending is solid. Their defense is solid. But Colorado, man, I mean, Colorado's a different animal, especially, like I said, when Nate McKinnon's on the ice, they're pretty lethal. So with that being said, I hate to say it, Colorado in 7.
Colorado in 7.
Give me Colorado in 7 games. I think Colorado is the more lethal offensive team. And I think it's going to give Arizona's defense a bit of a struggle, considering the fact that they know how to shoot the puck. So Colorado went 7 for me.
Yeah, I mean, I can't argue with the fact that Nathan McKinnon is, without a doubt, this year the best player in the NHL.
Absolutely.
I know that they want to say, we don't take what they did in the playoffs as consideration, but I think you should. And I think that's why Nathan McKinnon should win the Hart Trophy. He was more productive than Leon Draisaitl or Artemi Panarin were in the postseason. I mean, Artemi Panarin, did he even have a point in the 3 games? He seemed like he was just not there.
One.
And he had a -3 rating?
Yep.
Where was he the entire 3 games?
Nowhere to be found. Nowhere
to be found. So, Nathan McKinnon is tremendous. You have Gabriel Landeskog, who is one of my favorite players in the NHL. Mikko Rantanen, very good. Philip Grubauer if he can play the way he played in the playoffs last year, they're going to be good. Nazem Kadri, that trade with Toronto was a big one. Good job by Joe Sakic, who has done a fine job of building this team.
Yep.
I think he's done a very good job of building this team. So they got good pieces, and then you have Arizona, Arizona fascinating, man. I mean, they really are. Like, they got Taylor Hall, and Taylor Hall, from the time he got traded to the Coyotes to now, has been the best scorer, point getter on the team, which kind of shows you that Taylor Hall's still a very talented player. You have Phil Kessel, who's kind of, really turned back the clocks a little bit with his production. Michael Grabner is a solid penalty killer. He can score 48 goals. He's already proven that.
And he's also great on breakaways.
Yep. Clayton Keller is still not fully proven yet, and he could turn it. He could definitely do. Christian Dvorak, who I think had like 25 goals this year, and nobody was talking about him. And then before he got hurt, Darcy Kemper looked like he was making a case to be a Vezina Trophy.
Yep.
I don't think he ended up being one, but if he had stayed healthy, Antti Ranta, obviously you have memories with Antti Ranta, but I mean, he's okay, not great.
Yeah.
I'm not
okay.
And you have interesting coaching going on here, particularly with Arizona, with Rick Tocchet, who has proven that he is a legit NHL head coach. It doesn't hurt when you have, former Devil great John McClain, who I thought has done a pretty good job as an assistant. They're a workman-like team. They're a funny team. You can't really say, how good they really are. You can't really put a finger on it. Give me Arizona in 7.
Oh, okay.
Oh yeah, man.
Okay.
Why not? Let's have fun with it. I'm having fun. Just, I want chaos. I'm not a fan of any of the teams that are in it. I want chaos. I love it. This would be a great year for it too. So give me Arizona in 7. Let's go.
Well, you want chaos. I'm going to give you some chaos with this last series.
I also want a first-round pick from Arizona. So, yeah, let's go. So, I need Taylor
There we
Hall
go. So,
really...
I've got Colorado in 7. You have the Coyotes in 7. So, Neil, you want chaos. I'll give you chaos right now with this last series. Chicago and Vegas. Now, here's the thing. Chicago looks like they mean business. Corey Crawford, in the last game he played, looked like he was going to steal the show, and he did.
Which he always does.
Vegas, listen, I can't deny the talent that they have. They have Jonathan Marchessault, William Karlsson. They got great goaltending in Marc-Andre Fleury. They got great defense. I can't deny how talented they are. They made the Stanley Cup final their first year. Second year, they were great. Let's see how they do this year. But with all that being said, here's your chaos, Neil. Chicago Blackhawks are not only going to win the series, I think they're going to sweep Vegas. I actually think they are going to sweep the Vegas Golden Knights out of town. And here's why. Taves and Kane. Oh.
I'm fine.
No. Okay, there we go.
Still there. No, it just, your prediction was so crazy that my screen froze. So I guess
your screen wanted nothing to do with me.
Enough. Yep.
But anyway, yes, you heard correct. I think Chicago will sweep Vegas because, like you said, Taves and Kane are still in the prime of their career. I think they still have a lot left in the tank. Duncan Keith, I think, still has a lot left in the tank. Brandon Saad, I still think can be a big X factor. Their goaltending is also going to be a huge, huge factor in this series. And their defense, I mean, I can't say enough about that. Kirby Dach is an absolute stud. They have a lot of young talent. They are great offensively. And Vegas, I don't know, man. Something tells me that Vegas is, I don't know. Something really tells me that the Blackhawks absolutely mean business. So yes, as bold as it is, you wanted chaos, you got it. I think Chicago will sweep Vegas out of town.
Well, the first thing I'll say is that I do have Chicago winning. I have them winning in 6.
Okay.
I don't expect as much chaos because, look, Vegas is too good of a team to just get knocked out in 4. Vegas is the number 1 seed going into this. Pete DeBoer is their head coach, and knowing his track record, he usually takes a team in his first year to the Cup final. So, it could very well be the same case here.
Right.
I just think that Chicago, because of their whole rallying cry of why not us, and and the way that they handled Edmonton when everybody thought that Edmonton was just going to win in 3 or 4, definitely shows you that Chicago is a team you don't want to mess with. You don't want to take lightly. So I think with that being said, I'm going to go with Chicago in 6.
Okay.
Yep.
All right, fair enough. So I have them sweeping Vegas. You have them winning in 6. So on that note, that'll wrap it up for this episode. A very hefty hockey episode of the Bottom Line Podcast. If you have any thoughts on anything we discussed, and if you also want to try and comfort me as a Ranger fan, let me know. Let us know on Twitter at Bottom Line WMCX, at the NVP Show, and also on Instagram at Bottom Line WMCX. Use hashtag Bottom Line. Voice message on Anchor, the app, or Anchor.fm. And if you're watching on YouTube, please leave a like and a comment down below. Helps out tremendously. And please make sure you subscribe on YouTube and on Apple, Google, and Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts. Just include my first name, Jimmy, when searching for the Bottom Line Podcast. Neil, next episode is going to be a little bit different because I may have a sports trivia question for you on Thursday, but our horizons are expanding once again, as we'll have a top 5 list. We will have a top 5 list, but this one will not be easy. We will have our top 5 favorite video games of all time. I am going to have to do some hard thinking about this one because, dear God.
I mean, if it's going to be that hard for you, I would be surprised.
It's like I said in our interview with First to 11. I could go with a top 10, top 5. Dear God, this is not going to be easy, but we'll have that for you in the next episode. I'll also have my sports trivia question for Neil. So again, if you want to try and comfort me as a Ranger fan, try to make it feel better about getting the number 1 overall pick.
No, I'm good.
Good luck.
I'm good.
Try to convince me otherwise. For Neil Villapiano, I'm Jimmy Fedizzi. This is the Bottom Line Podcast. See you in the next episode. Peace out.